Welcome to September. It's FabCon week. The Microsoft Fabric Community Conference 2025 is happening right now in Vienna. And alongside the big announcements, we've got a packed update for you. From new ways to move your data with copy jobs and mirroring to a fresh Copilot capabilities and a bunch of updates for Dataflow's Gen 2, Fabric is moving fast. And if you want every detail, just scan the QR code on the screen or check the link in the description below to jump straight to the monthly update blog. I'm your host, Adam Saxton. Now let's get into the September 2025 Fabric update. Let's start with what's generally available in September. This month is all about power and productivity. Here's just a taste, but you'll also see the full list on the screen as I'm talking. OneLake gets a big boost with the new Govern tab and public APIs. Data Factory and Dataflow's Gen 2 are smarter than ever with incremental refresh, variables, and pipeline upgrades. And developers, you'll love the new Python notebook enhancements, Visual Studio Code extension or VS Code extension, API updates as well. And Copilot keeps leveling up, now helping you build custom columns and explain queries right inside Dataflow's Gen 2. The headline is clear. Fabric is doubling down on flexibility, intelligence, and developer experience. Now let's look at what's in preview this month. And this is where things get really exciting. OneLake Security takes center stage, giving you enterprise-grade role-based protection and Entra ID integration. Dataflow's Gen 2 is getting supercharged with preview-only steps, partitioned compute, CI/CD variable libraries, and performance boosts from the new modern evaluator. AI is everywhere. Copilot now helps in Get Data, and Data Wrangler gets instant AI transformations like summarization, translation, and sentiment analysis. For data movement, copy jobs step up with CDC support from Lakehouse, variable libraries for CI/CD, and new activity orchestration. And if you work across platforms, mirroring expands to Google BigQuery and Oracle, bringing that data into OneLake in near real time. That's a powerful lineup. The key takeaway is Fabric is previewing serious upgrades in security, performance, and cross-platform integration. Here are some demos for some of the preview items.
One of the core experiences that you get when you use Dataflow Gen 2, it's the data preview. Whenever you add or apply a new step, you'll be able to see your data in the data preview. In some cases, evaluating or resolving that data preview can take some time. But what if I can change that so it's always just a few seconds instead of 18 seconds? And to that extent, we're introducing what we call preview-only steps. I don't need to load the thousands of files that I have on this storage. I effectively just need a subset of those files. And I know that those subset of files are in a specific folder, this CSV for one file folder. So I can just right click it, do a text filters, say equals. This is gonna add an in-between step. It's simply gonna do a filter. That will act as my sample data. And I can just right click this and say that I only want to enable only in previews. When I do that, I do get this message bar at the top saying that it is using preview only. And when I go back to the last step, and I try to preview this step, notice how it's below 3 seconds. I no longer have to wait 18 seconds. We also have some experiences that are integrated within some specific dialogues. If you're using any of the connectors that leverage the file system view, such as the SharePoint folder connector, Azure Data Lake Gen 2 connector, or even the folder connector, you're gonna find a gear icon on the top right. This gear icon is gonna allow you to do a data preview sampling using the same capability of the preview only steps. In this case, you can select that perhaps you want to create a sample based on the top 10 files or the top 100 files. And if I wanted to move forward, I can either create this particular step, which is going to have a filter view of just the top 10 files, or I can take the path of going through the combined files experience. And you're also going to be able to see the same gear icon that we saw before, but this time it's not to pick n number of files. You're going to be able to select a number of rows from the sample file. You can always go ahead and move back to any of the steps. You can continue to add more transformations and make them either preview only or not. Let's look at how we can integrate a variable library inside of a Dataflow Gen 2. What we're looking at the moment is a simple data flow that connects to a lakehouse, does some transformations, and then loads data to the same lakehouse. So we're using a lakehouse that contains the New York City taxi data, where each of the table contains daily data. I have data for the year 2018 all the way down to the year 2022. In my data flow, I'm connecting specifically to the data from the year 2017. What I would like to do is make the references that I have in my data flow, such as the workspace ID, the lakehouse ID, and the actual name of the table that I'm connecting to be fully dynamic. Before I can do any changes to my data flow, I have to create my library. I've done so already, and I created 3 variables. I have the workspace ID, the lakehouse ID, and the table name. So I have them all set up. Now I can go back to my data flow and make the modifications that I need to. The first one is to change the value or overwrite that value with something that can be seen by Power Query or by Dataflow as a variable library. This is a specific example, which is just the workspace ID. I'm going to replace this part, which is a string, to use the variable.value or default function, which is going to take an identifier. In this case, it's going to be the identifier that we use to call variable libraries and get that specific variable. And then we're going to pass a default. In this case, it's just going to be the same value that I had before. Now, I can change this and click enter, and it's still going to work. I'm going to be able to see everything that's simply working here. It's using the default to render everything. I can also change everything and make sure that I have all the references to the variables that I have. So I have the workspace ID, I have the lakehouse ID, and I have the table name. I'm going to go ahead and click save and run so I can save this data flow, invoke it with the correct values, and see how it actually creates the new table. I can look now at the lakehouse, and I can see that a new table with the name output was created, which shows the data for 2017. I wanted to actually look at the data from 2020 now. To make that happen, all I have to do is just change the value that I have for that specific variable. So in this case, I'm going to change the table name to just be 2020, save it, wait until it saves, and then run the data flow again. It's going to pick that value up, overwrite the values that I have in that table, and they should match the values that I have for 2020. So I just ran or just trigger the run for the data flow. We just have to wait and then see what the data holds now in the table. So let's go back to this table, make sure that we can refresh it. So click on refresh, and let's look at the table and what data it holds. Now we can look at the data, and it actually has data for 2020.
With AI-enhanced modern get data in Dataflow Gen 2, you can efficiently chat with your data using natural language for data ingestion and transformation. In Dataflow Gen 2, click Get Data to start. Click on the Copilot tab. Then you can begin with the list of the recent user tables. After loading the recent use table, you can chat with Copilot to find data you want. When selecting table columns, use Add to quickly view available columns. For step-by-step exploration, we want to first group by the data on customer's title to check the results. Then, depending on the range accounts, we can decide how to filter on accounts. If you know all operations you want to do in the beginning, you can describe all in one sentence. Then Copilot can quickly understand it and provide the filter result to you. To return to previous step, click the Restore button, and your data will revert to that point. You can also copy the preview data to confirm with your colleagues before saving it to Dataflow Gen 2.
Today, I'm going to be walking you through how to use the new copy job activity, which is now in public preview, and the newly updated Teams and email activities, which are now generally available in Microsoft Fabric pipelines. So here I've got a brand new pipeline, and I'm going to go ahead and add the copy job activity to my pipeline. The copy job activity lets you run a copy job directly inside a pipeline. That means you can orchestrate data movement alongside other tasks like transformations, notifications, or conditional logic all in one place. Now, with this activity, you can reuse that logic inside pipelines and add things like conditional execution, retries, and chaining with other activities. So here we already have the activity added into our pipeline, and then I'm gonna go ahead and configure the settings. So setting up my connection, I'm gonna create a new connection just by following the instructions on the UI, and I'm selecting the workspace I want to call my copy job from. If you don't have a copy job inside of your workspace, you can always create a new one. Now I can chain my copy job activity with other steps in my pipeline, like sending an email notification or validating metadata based on an output. So I'm going to go ahead and add the new emails activity and the news teams activity here onto our canvas. Now you can send notifications directly to your pipelines just as you would with the legacy activities. What's new is that both of these activities now use connections. So you notice that at the top of the settings in both of these activities. Besides creating a connection, all of the other setup is the same, just as the legacy item. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my email activities. I'm going to send an email to myself, and I'm going to use this email activity to showcase that the copy job activity is complete. And I'm going to add in some details like the pipeline ID and the pipeline run ID. And I want this to only run on success. And as for the teams activity, pretty much very similar item. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this activity. I'm just going to try out these two activities, and I'm going to save my pipeline and then run it. Now, in terms of monitoring for your copy job item, it pretty much takes you directly to your copy job item. And if I want to toggle into the activities, I can also click on the monitoring URL, and it takes me to the monitoring hub page where I can see the copy job in progress. And now I just got an email telling me that the copy job activity run is complete, and all of the details as I specified are indeed in that email. Welcome to the Evaluate Expression experience in Microsoft Fabric Pipelines. This feature helps you test and debug your pipeline expressions instantly without having to run the entire pipeline. So I'm in a brand new pipeline now, and then I'm going to create a variable. I'm just going to call it test variable 1 and name the string hello world. And then I'm going to do some more variables just so we can play around a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and create an activity that will make it easy for me to see my expression. So I'm going to go ahead and try the email activity. I'm not going to configure any of my settings here. We don't really need to do that to test the Evaluate Expression Builder experience, which is the exciting part. But what we can do is go ahead and test out some of the expressions here and then go ahead and try to evaluate them. So for the first expression, let's try calling test variable 1. And now that we have a valid expression written here, meaning there's no red underline error messages, I can go ahead and navigate to the evaluate expression. So this is the new feature that I'm showcasing today. Go ahead and click on it, and when you click evaluate, it should showcase the preview. It automatically fills in the values for you based on what it knows contextually about your pipelines. It does not know previous outputs from activities just because the pipeline itself hasn't run yet. But you can edit all of these values yourself just to test your pipeline. So I could change this to hello world 123, and that updates the preview content, but it doesn't actually update the test variable 1 itself. Now I'm going to do some more exciting expressions just to see what they're going to turn out to be. So a function for concat, and then also calling a system variable. Let's go ahead and evaluate this expression. And as you can see, all of the items were automatically filled. I didn't have to input any of the values. When I click evaluate, I should expect to see exactly what I'm seeing now, which is that the variable had the string hello world. The function combines my two variables, testvar2 and testvar3, so testing 1, 2, 3. And then my system variable calls the current pipeline ID, and it does show up here.
I'm using the New York taxicab dataset and working with the Hackney license dimension table. Here we can see the production version of my table, and on this page we see the new version of the table that we'll use to update prod. We even see a difference in the row count between the two right now. Let's use the merge statement to get my production table in sync with the latest data. With merge, I set the production table as the target and the new table as the source, and try to match on license ID. Let's say my source table has a matching ID, but has different column values than the target. Maybe the record in production was incorrectly labeled the first time around. I just instruct merge to update the target row's values to take on the new values of the source. And let's say there is no matching ID in the target, but my source has a new ID to begin tracking. So I tell merge to insert those rows into the target as well. If my source is missing an ID that my target production table has, maybe these licenses have expired, and we're no longer tracking them, then I simply tell merge to delete that row in target. Now let's run the merge statement to keep my production table in sync. We can see that both tables now have the same row count, and they both match each other. This is a much cleaner and consolidated approach to syncing my data versus maintaining 3 separate insert, update, and delete statements based on left joins. Try the merge statement for yourself in the Fabric Data Warehouse.
If I do say so myself, that is an impressive lineup of preview features. Try these out and let us know what you think. Overall, what an amazing update right in the middle of FabCon EU here in Vienna. If you're at the conference, let us know what feature announcement got you most excited. And if you're watching from home, drop your favorite update in the comments below. Make sure to scan that QR code to get all of the details in this month's update blog. Fabric is moving fast and will keep you in the loop each month. Keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.